Well, hello, I'm Stephen Triano, and this is vegetable crop production class. And so all of my Zoom meetings will be done, or all of my lectures, I should say, will be done as recorded Zoom sessions. And you can view them as you wish. And that is my assistant, Sammy. And Sammy, the cat, will be helping me through this semester. Anyway, oh, and I also need to show you my Science is Awesome shirt. If you don't think science is awesome, you're going to have trouble with this class. Agriculture is a combination of science and business, and production is clearly both. Lots of science. And rather than having you stare at me, I'm going to share my screen so you can follow along with what I'm doing. Okay, so you must have managed to get into the Canvas shell in order to be watching this. So you're already there. And this getting started, I'm not going to read down the list one line at a time. I think it's important that you are able to take responsibility for reading these things on your own, but I will point out a couple of very important concepts here. Read the syllabus. Right here is the syllabus. Check assignments regularly to see if any new assignments are posted, what the due dates are. There are always two dates. There's the due date, and there's a second date, which is the allowed submission date for late work. After that date, you need to contact me individually to see what I will or will not accept late. I'm fairly lenient about accepting late work in terms of I'll take it, but you lose points. That just is really important to know. You need to be responsible, doing things on time, or let me know in advance. You don't tell me 2 days after an assignment was due, hey, I ran into some problems at work or at home and couldn't do it. I'll try to be understanding as I can, but you were late. You lose points. If you tell me in advance, hey, I've got this thing coming up at work, or I'm really having troubles with something, you don't have to spill your guts. It's none of my business what's going on in your life, but it is my business if you're going to be late on an assignment. And just contact me, and I'll talk about how to contact me later. Do not email me. Use the Canvas inbox system. Inbox is right there. Anyway, grades for a class that's intended to be online, I will give you grades differently. I don't do online courses. This is an emergency pandemic situation, and online is not what it is supposed to be. So please don't use grades. I keep my grades on an Excel spreadsheet, and I will share that with you periodically. There are a couple of problems. Even though your assignments that you turn in through the assignments are there, there are other points that you might get that aren't in assignments, or something like attendance. I hate the way Canvas does attendance, and for an online class, it makes no sense. And so there might be some things in there that throw off your grade. If you go into grades here, it's not necessarily what your grade really is. But with a little bit of thinking, looking, you should be able to be pretty close to what your actual grade is, because you know what the assignments are and you know what you get on those. And the midterms and final as well. So read through this, follow the instructions, go to the modules and check out how things are going to go. The laboratory schedule is important, but I'm going to say right now, the lab schedule is a guess. If we were doing this face to face, I'd be really thrilled with our laboratory schedule, and uh, I think I would stick to it pretty dang close. Online, I'm trying to figure out how to do this class in the labs that we have through videos and other methods that are going to be over the computer. So I'll do my best. It's an idea of the things that we do as best as I can guess. Common writing errors. Every one of my classes is a writing class. I don't teach English, but I do teach classes that have writing. And so I created this years ago and ran it by some of the English teachers that are some friends of mine here at Hartnell. And they liked it. They thought it was a good example of some of the things that people consistently do wrong in writing. And I would hope you would take this class seriously. This is an opportunity to work on your writing. There is a term paper due in this class. So be sure to take it seriously and try to do a good job on your writing. Copy, paste, and massaging sentences so they flow. That's not writing, that's compiling information. Writing is hard and you need to practice. Your vegetable project, I'll get into that in much more detail. I'll have a separate video describing that. But the vegetable project, when you go in there, will describe your term paper. And normally we do a PowerPoint and oral presentation in front of the class. There is no in front of the class right now, so the PowerPoint itself will be an extra credit type of an assignment, probably. We'll see how that goes. I might require it for you to do, but we'll see. I'm going to turn that off, the ABT course rotation. That is a work in progress right now. Periodic table of the elements. I'm going to go in there real quick. And there's 4 different ones that I have selected. They print differently depending on what you like to look at and what your printer does. They're just 4 different variations on this periodic table. Now, why do I care about the periodic table? Because 17 of the 92 naturally occurring elements are important in growing plants. And actually, it's more than 17. There's some others that are important, but there are 17 that are absolutely essential, no matter what plant you are growing. And so we need to know about these when we fertilize plants, when we are trying to get them to be happy and healthy plants. And, again, this is a science class as well as an English class. Note-taking tips and tutorials. I wish we did a better job in our K-12 system to teach certain skills. And one of my pet peeves is note-taking. I think there should be note-taking strategies starting in elementary school. And we don't do that. We're so stuck on memorizing and other things that we really don't focus on some of the skills that some students don't learn right. And some students just luckily fall into it. It comes more naturally and they teach themselves something that works for them. But in my experience, most of you suck at note taking. And you know it. I'm not telling you something you don't know, but you need to practice. Again, why are you in college? Not just to hear me go blah, blah, blah. You're here to get better at certain things, to practice your reading skills and note-taking skills and writing skills. And it's not all about what I need you to do to pass this class. Do you need to be an excellent note taker? No. Does it help? Sure. You do better on the test. You do better on all kinds of things. You do better in life, in meetings at work, when you can take quick notes that make sense, and you learn how to organize your thoughts in a quick way. Uh, it's a very important skill. Online resources, some useful links. Now, this is something that from an old shell, way before Canvas, we used to have something called, where did that go? Shoot. Used to have something called eCollege. And maybe some of you knew eTudes, but I doubt any of you know eCollege. That was an old one. And they had this really cool tool called the Webliography. And it's basically a page inside of the shell, like inside of Canvas, but Canvas doesn't have it. And the Webliography had the ability to create sets of web pages or links that were interesting and related to the class. And so I've done this for all of my classes. Let me turn on that show button there. And I'm not going to go through this list, but there are all kinds of things related to agriculture, ag production, some schools. I think there's some job sites in here, irrigation methods, the Natural Resources Conservation Service. We'll be using that site later. Pathway to PCA. Anybody want to be a pest control advisor? There's a link to that. Again, there's roughly 47 different links. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Some things that I think you would possibly want to check out. Again, do I need you to go through this list? No. But why are you here in college? To find things, to learn things, to explore on your own. See if anything is interesting. Become familiar with stuff. Become somebody who is serious about agriculture. So check some of these things out. Ask me about them. There's some really useful things in that list. And PowerPoint's rules of 7. I'm not going to go through that. That is a basic PowerPoint tips tutorial kind of a thing. Very, very brief, but it helps you focus your thoughts on constructing an effective PowerPoint that follows some good rules. And so take a look at that, because you're going to be presenting, or at least creating, a PowerPoint related to your project later in this semester. So that's the basic course content. So please read through all of this. Please make sure that you check out all of the videos and all of the content that you run across as we go through. And starting with week 1, under modules, scroll down too far, under modules, I forgot to show you what's below. Oops, what did I do? I'm in the wrong class. Forgot to scroll down to below the rules of 7, week 1. There's an industry introduction and topics in crop production. The first week is a lot of housekeeping chores, usually in a face-to-face class, and you've got to get up to speed. So we'll just talk about the structure of the agriculture industry with the focus of a grower in the center, a farmer. And you don't have to be a farmer. You can be any part of that industry. But when we think about agriculture, especially in a class like veg crops production, we're talking about somebody who's growing the crops. And so we'll talk about that week one. And you can follow the rest of the weeks through here. Um, and we're not going to be able to go to World Ag Expo, bummer. But, you know, this is the general plan. And when you see this, it'll be a little bit different. I've got a little reorganizing to do. This shows week 19 as final exam day. It's actually a shortened semester. We're now on a 16-week semester. And since we have a spring break week, it's actually week 17 that will be final exam, not week 19. So I've got a little reorganization to do before we get there. And there's something else here called the unit conversion module down here at the bottom. You won't see all this stuff that's unpublished. That's just my garbage can of stuff. But you will see this. And there are points that are listed in here, but this is an assignment from the Panther Learning Lab group. It's not part of the class. There's something that is part of this class that some of you are going to hate. And I hate to use four-letter words with you, but I'm going to use one. Math. Sorry, I said it. For some of you, that's one of the worst four-letter words in the English language. And for others, you don't have a problem with math, whatever it is. But we will do metric conversions and some basic types of math. You need to put 37 mils in 500 liters of some pesticide and then spray it on your field. What is that in terms of ounces into gallons? How do you do that? You need to do conversions. Somebody's talking about hectares and you've got acres here in the United States. We'll talk about that. So there's two modules actually. One is on conversions in general and one is metric and metric to standard conversions for beginners and a pre-test on that. So these sections, even though they say points, they're considered brownie points for yourself. If you need help with conversions, there is what I thought was a pretty good set of practice problems and modules that you could walk through on your own time to get better with this. If math is your problem, please, please, please take some time and do it. All right. So that is it for my introduction. And I'll see you in the modules.